All right, then, here we go. It's a massive night under the lights in Europe once again. Celtic are back on the continental stage, kicking off their Europa League journey away to the Serbian champions, Red Star Belgrade. A proper tough assignment, no question about it. But that's what European football is all about, isn't it? You travel halfway across the continent, into loud, hostile grounds, and you find out what you're really made of. The team touched down in Belgrade yesterday after a final training session at Lennoxtown in the morning, followed by a flight just shy of 4 hours. Not quite the long haul we've had in years gone by, like Almaty, but still a fair distance east. It's a proper European away, and make no mistake, this is a real test for Brendan Rodgers and the squad. The pre-match press conference took place last night inside the Rajko Mitic Stadium. And, to be fair, it was mostly the usual stuff you get before these big nights. But a few things stood out, especially from Rodgers. He made it clear that the Champions League campaign is done and that the team has to move on. And he's absolutely right. The disappointment from the exit to Kairat is still lingering around the place, both in the stands and on the pitch. But tonight's not about that. Tonight is a new beginning. This is not the continuation of a European failure. This is the first chapter of a fresh campaign in a competition we should be taking very seriously. As fans, we don't really have the luxury of turning our noses up at the Europa League. Not with our recent track record in Europe. This is a strong tournament with strong sides, and more importantly, it's one where we can actually compete. Rodgers talked a bit about lessons learned, especially away from home. He mentioned that you don't need to press every single ball, and that sort of maturity is something we've been crying out for. The game against Dortmund last year was a horror show. 7 goals shipped, 5 in the first half. It was a complete collapse. But since then, the signs have been better. 5 away games in Europe since then, and we've kept 3 clean sheets. We were only half a minute away from one in Munich too. So defensively, you can see progress. But let's be honest, going forward, we've still not cracked it. We've had those 3 goalless draws, away to Atlanta, Dynamo, and Kairat. That's the next step for this team. We need to combine the defensive structure with a real attacking threat. Rodgers reckons we'll have space to play tonight, and that's when we're at our best. And from the sounds of it, this pitch should suit us. It's big, well kept, and Red Star are expected to come out and attack, which might actually play into our hands. There'll be room to exploit, and we've got players who can do damage if the game opens up. Now, a lot's been made about the Rajko Mitic Stadium, the so-called Maracana. And yeah, it's got history. It's got noise. It's got intimidation. That tunnel walk is almost legendary. For those that don't know, the away dressing room isn't even in the stadium. It's in a separate building, which means the players will have to walk 240 meters from the changing room to the center circle. 70 of those meters are through a tunnel lined with graffiti, red and white, with painted eyes watching you the whole way. It's designed to get in your head. But I'll tell you what, I don't think this group will be fazed by that. We've been to Ibrox, we've been to Dortmund, Munich, Bergamo, we've been in these environments. The likes of Callum McGregor and Cameron Carter-Vickers have faced down hostile crowds before. They won't be rattled by some artwork in a tunnel. In fact, if anything, I hope they embrace it. This is what you play for. This is proper European football. Big crowd, big noise, big pressure. Go out there and shut them up. That's the dream. And let's not act like Red Star are invincible in their own backyard. Their record at home in Europe isn't great. Over their last 11 European games at the Maracana, they've only won 3. They were knocked out at home by PAOK just a few weeks ago, after drawing the away leg. They were beaten at home by PSV, Benfica. Even Barcelona gave them a proper doing. So let's be clear, they're not unbeatable. They're not this immovable force. They're a good side, no doubt, but we've come up against better and got results. On our side, there's a few team selection headaches. Anthony Ralston's made the trip, but I don't think he starts. Rodgers looks ready to throw Kobe Donovan in at right back, and I actually like that call. It's a big night for a young lad, but sometimes it's these nights that make a player. Ralston, we know what we're getting. Solid, steady. But Donovan gives you something else. There's risk, but there's also the chance he steps up and shows he's ready for this level. Center halves will be Carter-Vickers and Scales, no surprises there. Kieran Tierney at left back. Midfield's where it gets interesting. McGregor obviously plays, and Rodgers tends to go with Hatate and Negrin in big games. But there's a feeling that Engels might get the nod tonight, Someone with a bit more energy, someone who can cover ground. Just a gut feeling, nothing confirmed. Up top, Tank will surely start on the left. I'd expect Maeda to go through the middle, with James Forrest maybe coming in on the right. It's a shout for experience. You've got Young and Bernardo as options too, but Forrest's done it before on nights like this. You need cool heads in these games. As for Red Star, they're a proper team. Arnautovic will lead the line. He's got the pedigree, we know that. Behind him, you've got players like Radonjic, Duarte, and Ivanic, proper European experience there. And even though they've been dominating the Serbian league, 8 league titles in a row, 5 domestic cups, they're facing the same problem we've had for years, translating domestic dominance into European success. In fact, when you look at it, the parallels between Celtic and Red Star are mad. Both top dogs in their own countries, both struggling to make an impact in Europe, both with passionate fan bases and a proper sense of identity. Their UEFA coefficient is just 1 point behind ours. It's like looking in the mirror. Tonight, we're facing a version of ourselves, just with a different badge and a different language. Looking beyond the noise and all the build-up, tonight's not just about the result. It's about how Celtic show up on this kind of stage. That's the bit that'll tell us where this squad is mentally, tactically, and physically. You can't fake it in Europe. You can maybe grind your way through a scrappy league match on a Sunday afternoon at McDermott Park, but on a night like this, with the lights glaring down and 60,000 Serbians roaring at you, you either stand up or you crumble. And what we want to see tonight is character. Not just shape, not just tactics, real heart. There's been far too many occasions in Europe over the last 20 years where Celtic have folded under the pressure. Started too slow, conceded early, and never quite recovered. That's the kind of pattern we need to snap out of. We've shown flashes, even in games where the result didn't go our way. We've gone to places like Munich and Dortmund and played proper football in spells. But it's about making those spells last longer. Keeping composure for 90 minutes. It's about managing the game, knowing when to press, when to sit in, and when to kill the tempo. RODGERS spoke about learning not to press every ball, and that's exactly it. Playing smart, not just hard. This Red Star team, as much as they're dominant in Serbia, aren't untouchable. Their defense is a bit leaky when you get at them, and they've got a tendency to leave gaps when they push bodies forward. We've got to be sharp in transition. The kind of game where one turnover in the middle can lead to a goal if we're ruthless enough. Players like Hatate and McGregor will be key here. You need calm heads in midfield, players who can take the sting out the crowd, control the pace, and pick the right moments to spring forward. And then, of course, you need that final bit of quality, that killer pass, the composure in front of goal, the decision-making that separates a draw from a famous away win. But we're also going to need leadership. Guys like Carter Vickers at the back, McGregor pulling strings, and even someone like James Forrest if he starts. Players who've been through these battles before. You can't just rely on raw talent in games like this. You need maturity, you need communication, and above all, belief. That belief's been missing in a few European away days, but there's a chance to change that tonight. Put in a proper performance, and suddenly the rest of the group looks at us differently. It sets the tone for the rest of the campaign. And just look at what's at stake. A result tonight, even just a draw, puts us in a strong position early on. There's nothing worse than chasing qualification after slipping up on match day 1. It adds pressure to every fixture that follows. But come out of Belgrade with something, and you've taken the first step. It gives the players confidence, it gives the fans something to cling on to, and it might just build that bit of momentum we've been lacking. Off the pitch, things haven't been exactly settled either. There's been frustration among the support for a while now, not just because of results, but how the club's being run behind the scenes. That stuff matters. The relationship between club and fans has been strained, meetings declined, questions unanswered, and a sense that leadership's not listening. That clouds everything. Nights like this, though, they offer a break from the noise. They give us 90 minutes to just focus on football. And if the team can deliver something on the pitch, it might ease some of the tension, even just a little. Even players on the sidelines are trying to stay sharp. Hoda, for example, posted an update on social media this week. Deep water resistance training, getting the body right again. He won't be back until the turn of the year, maybe later, but it's clear he's putting in the work. That's the kind of mentality we need. It's not just about rushing back, it's about coming back ready to make a difference. Because imagine having Tank on one wing and a fully fit Hoda on the other? That's the kind of firepower we're going to need if we want to make any sort of run in Europe. And while we're talking about mentality, Brendan Rodgers has clearly tried to shift the mood within the squad. There was a team-building event last week with players and their partners, featuring a magician of all things, Aiden Boyd, putting on a show for the squad. A bit left field, sure, but these things matter. Team spirit is massive in football, especially when the pressure's on. When you're under the cosh in Belgrade and you need to dig in together, it's those small moments of unity that can push you through. And it's clear Rodgers understands that side of management as well. Now, back to the football. There's a sense that this game won't be wide open. Both sides know the importance of starting strong in the group. So I expect a bit of a chess match early on. Red Star, despite the crowd behind them, won't want to be caught on the break. They've been stung before in Europe and they'll remember it. They've lost at home to teams with pace and composure. That's exactly what Celtic need to bring tonight. No panic. Play to our strengths. Use the width. Keep the ball when it's on, and strike when the moment comes. One thing that could tilt the balance is how clinical we are in front of goal. We've seen it before. You only get 2 or 3 chances in these matches, and if you don't take them, you're punished. We've got players who can finish, Tank, Maeda, even Hatate from distance. But they need to step up. The composure that sometimes deserts us under pressure needs to be there tonight. Because Red Star will give us openings. They'll come forward, they'll try to dominate, and when that happens, gaps appear. If we're sharp enough, we can exploit them. The officiating team tonight's from Romania, with a VAR official from Italy. So, expect a few stoppages, expect decisions to be checked, and expect the usual chaos that comes with European refereeing. The players will need to keep their heads. Don't give the ref an excuse to make it about him. Focus on the game, stay disciplined, and let the football do the talking. You get the sense that this could be a real turning point. Not just for this campaign, but for how Celtic approach Europe going forward. There's always been this glass ceiling we seem to hit. Get to the group stage, maybe pick up a home win, but away days like this always feel like damage limitation. That needs to change, and there's no reason it can't start tonight. We've got the quality. We've got the experience. We've even got the recent European clean sheets to prove we can be solid. What we need now is bravery. We need someone to take the game by the scruff of the neck and say, we're not just here to make up the numbers. And honestly, even if it ends level, that could be enough to build from. A 1-1 draw away to Red Star isn't something to scoff at. It keeps us in the mix, it silences a noisy home crowd, and it shows we've matured as a European outfit. But if we show up flat, start slowly, and let the game slip away, then it's the same old story again. That's what's on the line tonight. Not just points, pride, identity, belief. All of it. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. In the restless corridors of Scottish football, a rumor has begun to stir with the weight of thunder over Celtic Park. Eyewitnesses claim that Brendan Rodgers, never shy of speaking his mind, was seen letting loose in full view of cameras, his frustration spilling over in a way rarely witnessed from the usually measured gaffer. The alleged target of his ire? One of his own players, a figure who has long divided the stands between admiration and doubt. According to whispers that grew louder as the weekend rolled on, Rodgers not only questioned the player's commitment, but went as far as demanding his immediate departure from the squad. Such a public rebuke, if proven true, would mark a dramatic twist in the manager's second spell at the helm, where he has often sought to rebuild bridges rather than burn them. The suggestion is that this was no quiet dressing room word, no subtle arm around the shoulder. This was Rodgers, on air, making it crystal clear that the relationship had reached breaking point. Supporters, ever passionate and sharp-eyed, have flooded pubs and forums with speculation. Was this an outburst crafted to send a message to the board, to the wider squad, or perhaps even to the player himself? Rodgers has always prided himself on discipline and standards, yet such a direct call for exile hints at a deeper fracture, one that cannot be papered over with the usual platitudes about unity and hard work. The timing of the storm could hardly be more delicate. Celtic remain locked in battles both domestic and continental, where every ounce of cohesion matters. For a manager to demand that a player pack his bags in the middle of the campaign suggests either an unfixable issue or a gamble designed to show that no individual is bigger than the badge. Whether the player in question will indeed be shown the door in the coming days, or whether this is all smoke without fire, remains uncertain. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.